Okay, so today I want to talk about something called hypnagogia, which is a very important state in magic and witchcraft in general. What it is, why we need it, why we use it, and why we shouldn't be afraid of it also. So let's get into hypnagogia. Alright, so hypnagogia, sorry that it's a bit dark today, it's overcast and such today. I usually use the sun for my lighting, but a bit dull. So hypnagogia, so this came up in comments, or I think it was a comment or a question on the Black Hat chat one week. If you look for the Cloven Stone Workings by Robin Artisan, if you're interested in traditional witchcraft, excellent book. I will put a link to the description, or link to the Amazon, link to the book on Amazon in the description. Sorry about that. So just have a look in the description for the link, and it also helps me out. So if you can click that link when you purchase, that would be fantastic. Thank you. So in the Cloven Stone Workings, Robin does talk about the hypnagogic state and using the hypnagogic state to actually do workings, do journey work and do astral projection. And he has specific rituals which you can use. He's also channeled specific names that you chant while you're actually falling asleep. And you'll find that hypnagogia is mentioned in a lot of books. It's often not referred to as hypnagogia, which is a bit disappointing, because I think it should be, because people hear the word hypnagogia or hypnagogic state and they're not really sure what it is. But for instance, you'll find it in a lot of astral projection works, like astral projection books. For instance, if you look back into the 70s with Robert Monroe's books on astral projection, you'll find he talks about the Borderland State. It's actually a nice term to use, is Borderland State. It's that state between waking and sleep, so it's the borderland between the two states. Hypnagogia is also a liminal state. And in Magic and Witchcraft, we often come across this term liminal, or between. It's a state or a place that is between this world and the other world. So you're sort of shifting from one world into the other. Now, when you're falling asleep, you're going from the waking world into the sleeping world, which is the same thing really. It's from this world into the other world. And there's a point that you reach which is between these states. We have liminal states, we have liminal deities. The crossroads is a liminal space that you can work with. But this hypnagogic state is actually a state that we get ourselves into. Not a frantic state or anything like that. Not that frantic state's bad, but it's a state that we actually move into naturally, actually. We find that we actually usually get into the state every day, every night. Sometimes we don't notice. A lot of people don't actually notice. But we can work with it. We can work at it. We can practice getting into it and extending it. And that's the real thing, is actually extending this hypnagogic state so we can work with it. I've noticed that over the years it's developed quite a lot for me, from one thing to another. So right in the beginning, it used to just be flashes of faces. And you might find this, you might have just faces that flash by. A lot of people actually report faces. But as it develops, you might start to see scenes. You might start to see objects, animals, anything that actually comes up. It's often just a subconscious releasing things as you're falling asleep. But with practice, you can extend it and then you start to get a lot of different things. You start to have these visions, you start to see objects, you start to see messages, you start getting messages from deities or spirits, and quite often what you might find is you start to hear noises, or you start to pick up voices, and the voices often say something. Now I found that it's not often or usually a message for me. It's quite often just you moving in from this world into the other world. And as you're moving there, you kind of just pick up on what a spirit's saying or a deity is saying. It's not often a message directly for you, it's just something they're saying, and you're just moving into that state and just picking up on these frequencies, on these messages and things. So bear that in mind. But if you practice at it and you can extend the hypnagogic state. So it's not just a case of you get into bed and you start falling asleep and you start to see visions and then you're in sleep. You can actually extend this hypnagogic period. And what I find is when it starts, I don't move, I freeze, intentionally. Because if I do move and I start to, get bodily physical reactions again, it stops the hypnagogic state and I've got to start again. So as soon as it starts, I'll stay in the position I'm in and I'll let it extend. And then I work in it as it is, as the hypnagogic state just starts to develop. Now what you can do with this hypnagogic state is work magic. You can go on a journey, you can do astral projection, but what you might find as you start to see the visions, see the faces, see whatever you generally see when you go into a hypnagogic state, then start doing magic, start doing journey work. So you can visualize yourself walking through a forest, you can visualize yourself walking into a glade with a stone circle, or walking into a cave, or whatever work you want to do. So you can go into your own temple and you can work magic there, or you can take a journey to go and meet a deity or a spirit or a demon or whatever you're working with, and you can sit down and talk with them. You might find that at some point you slip into sleep, and that's fine, there's nothing wrong with that. As you slip into sleep, you may wake up later on and you may remember dreams, and those dreams would be the same thing. It would be your journey, your working, your magic, actually just continuing in sleep in the other world. So this is very much, it's a fantastic state to be in, and it's a fantastic state to use. But I thought I would talk about it because I find a lot of people come onto forums and groups and stuff, and they're new to practice, and they're all of a sudden starting to have these hypnagogic hallucinations. And in the beginning, they are hallucinations. Those faces that I spoke about, which used to flash by, they are hypnagogic hallucinations. The subconscious just releasing things that built up during the day, for instance. But with work and practice, you can develop it further. But a lot of people get these hypnagogic hallucinations and they start thinking that something's attacking them, or something's wrong, and they get a bit worried, so they want to know what's happening, how to get rid of it. And you don't want to get rid of it, you want to develop it, you want to use it. So it's something that's very important to speak about, very important to understand. And you don't need to just use it when you're going to sleep. You can use it, you can do a meditation. I can get into a hypnagogic state quite easily with meditation. It can take about 20 minutes sometimes, but with practice you can actually shorten that time, because as you practice, as you get used to it, you find that there's a way you can actually induce it and increase the state itself. I can't explain how you induce it. I think it's beyond words to actually explain it. But once you do, as you're practicing it, and once you do get into the state and you start working with it more and more, it becomes clear as to how you can actually induce it. So you can sit down for a meditation, quiet the mind, and then actually bring on this hypnagogic state. Or you can just let it happen naturally, and just work with it from there. But as I say, very good thing to use, a very good state to be in, and very powerful, very good for actually doing magic workings, moving into your temple, into your astral temple, doing workings from there, or doing some kind of journey work where you are meeting spirits and talking with the spirits. So this all ties in with, things like shamanic journeying. You can use this in order to do the journey. When you're doing shamanic journey work, you usually visualize yourself moving down. It could be down through a hole in a tree, or walking down into a cave, or just, steps leading down into the earth. And then you come out into a landscape, into scenery, and you meet certain animals or spirits, etc. So that's one method of using it, because during that journey work, during the shamanic journey work, you actually do get into a hypnagogic state, and you continue it through the visualizations. But as I said, you can first bring on the hypnagogic state and then do the journey, do the working, whatever you need to do in it. But it's just that case of practicing it to get it to extend for as long as you can get it to go for. Because right in the beginning, you'll find that the hypnagogic state comes on, and then you just slip into sleep. So the longer you can keep this hypnagogic, this in-between state going, then better for your workings and such. And you might find that when you are starting to do workings in the hypnagogic state, it's sometimes difficult to keep focus, to keep concentration on the actual journey or the work you're actually doing, because it is that state that you're used to when you're falling asleep. So you kind of keep coming out of the working or the visualization or the journeying you're doing, and you come back and you start seeing those, or start having those hallucinations again, and then you push yourself back into the working. So to try and stay there permanently, rather than to keep shifting backwards and forwards, can take some practice, but can definitely be done. So that's the hypnagogic state, hypnagogia, Borderland State, liminal space, liminal state, whatever you want to call it. Use it. Don't try and get rid of it. Develop it, make it better, and you'll find that you can do some fantastic things. And that's it for this week. I'll see you next Tuesday. If you are around on Friday at 4 p.m. GMT, please join us on the Black Hat Chat. We're talking about divination this week, so that should be quite an interesting one. Kai is fantastic at all forms of divination, so we'll definitely get into some interesting stuff there. And I hope you have a great week. Cheers for now.